Certainly, within us there exists a harmful element that obstructs the attainment of authentic happiness. I want to point emphatically to the false personality. Undoubtedly, if the personality were to disappear, blessedness alone would remain in our hearts. Unfortunately, the false personality is formed by harmful elements. Obviously, I am referring to vanity and presumption. There is no doubt that if these two elements disappeared from the face of the earth, human life would change radically. Through presumption and vanity, many causes and mistaken effects are produced. The vain man wants to climb to the top of the ladder, to stand out, to trample honors, dignities, hearts, and feelings without caring about the pain of others. Yet the vain man naturally feels wounded when someone hurts him. Because of his vanity, he sacrifices others in order to obtain whatever dazzles him most: the new car, the luxury residence, the elegant clothes, etc. It does not matter if he must take advantage of many people, nor by what means he acquires the money that will allow him to display his foolish pride. So, my dear brothers, presumption and vanity are truly serious. Also serious are jealousy and worries. Worries are, we might say, like mosquitoes. Thousands of eyes of worry flutter in our minds, waiting for something to attach to so they can create problems. Just as mosquitoes land on everything, on dirt and on food, so too does the swarm of eye worries. They wait for something to land on in order to create preoccupation. A concept, a word, an idea, a theory, anything at all. The eyes of worry only wait for the instant in which they can create problems. They float in the mind and are perceptible to those who possess divine clairvoyance. It is terrible to know that these eyes are related to the false personality. Observe, then, how harmful the false personality is. And regarding jealousy, what can we say? The jealous person makes a horse out of a flea, creating problems everywhere. If the beloved smiles, that is reason enough to feel jealousy. Afterward, he slanders, hurts, and causes harm. But not only does passionate jealousy exist, there are also other kinds: religious jealousy, political jealousy, and many others. There is jealousy related to friendship. No one can deny it. There are multiple kinds of jealousy, and they generate a great deal of pain. All those jealousies, all those eyes of worry, all the presumption that is so harmful, all the vanity that produces such ostentation, all of that belongs to the false personality. Human beings could be happy if they did not have the false personality. Unfortunately, everyone has it. In the absence of the false personality, we would live in ecstasy. How happy we would feel. Unfortunately, everyone has the false personality, and that is very serious. It is necessary to make the decision to eliminate the false personality. This is possible if we dissect jealousy, vanity, the eyes of worry, pride, etc. When one understands that presumption is one of the densest factors of the false personality, one makes the decision to dissect that element and eliminate it radically. Let us reflect on the happiness of the being and on what the false personality is. The being in itself is happy, infinitely happy. When one eliminates the false personality, one remains in the plenitude of the being. One then enjoys blessedness. Unfortunately, very few care for this kind of study. Rare are those who truly attempt to explore themselves profoundly. Obviously, my dear brothers, we need to provoke a change within ourselves. If a magician, through his art, were to dissolve vanity and presumption instantly, people would find themselves totally transformed, but they would not know what to do. They would be disoriented. Life would have no meaning for them. They would kill themselves. They would die. Nevertheless, it is necessary to eliminate these two elements, presumption and vanity. But the process of change, of dissolution, must be methodical, didactic, and even dialectic. Otherwise, we would die. We would find ourselves disoriented. When one understands this, one makes the decision to work on oneself. We need to become conscious, self-conscious, of our own thoughts, of our own feelings, and of the effects that other human beings produce in us. When one understands a need to become self-conscious, one begins to dissolve the factors of presumption and vanity, as well as jealousy and worries. Then a transformation takes place that, obviously, will bring us awakening. To awaken is fundamental, radical. The eyes of presumption and vanity, which belong to the false personality, cause one to live identified with the things of this world, with material things, with events, with the different recurrent happenings of time. One must learn to produce a separation of oneself, a separation from everything. Do not identify yourself with events, with situations, with things, etc., because this identification absorbs the consciousness and submerges it into deep sleep. We need to awaken our consciousness, and this is possible if we make a separation between ourselves and things, between ourselves and events. If you'd like, I can also polish the previous sections in the same consistent style. So, my dear brothers, we have to become self-reflective, self-conscious. Obviously, the work of disintegrating the elements of a false personality is sometimes very difficult, and we cannot deny it. We may want to disintegrate certain elements and sub-elements of the false personality with the intention of achieving happiness, but unfortunately, and this is the problem, sometimes we feel stagnant. There are I's, elements and sub-elements, or aggregates of a false personality that are very difficult to disintegrate. In these cases, we need to have a great deal of patience if we truly want to advance. As we go deeper and deeper into ourselves, we also discover some inhuman psychic aggregates that are extremely difficult to disintegrate. We must not be impatient, especially when, in reality, we have not yet paid the price for progress. The disintegration of some difficult elements is only possible when the price has been paid. It is absurd to expect to eliminate certain sub-elements immediately without having paid the corresponding price. Remember that these inhuman aggregates personify our errors and are intimately related to mistaken causes, to karma. Therefore, do not be surprised if at times you find yourself stagnant regarding some element. That element is linked to a bad cause. Bad causes produce bad effects, and these bad causes, or I causes, are governed by the law of cause and effect, the law of karma. In such cases, it is necessary to pay in order to make possible the disintegration of these difficult elements. Karma is not only paid through suffering, it can also be resolved through good actions, and even through supreme repentance. In this way, the I causes can be dissolved. Impatience in these studies is harmful to neophytes. If they wish to make serious progress, they must become patient. It is impossible to imagine a serious person without patience. Christ said, "In your patience, possess ye your souls." A good measure of patience is necessary when we are stagnant in a particular I. For this reason, it is urgent to become more conscious of ourselves in thought, feeling, and word. Let us distinguish between a talk and prattle. Chatter and loquacious speech are the same. For this reason, in our studies, we should never accept chatter or prattle from our lecturers. We do not prattle. I am not chattering. I am a serious man and have not come here to chatter, but to speak with you, which is entirely different. Chatter is mechanical by nature. A loquacious person speaks without consciousness mechanically. A true talk is different. It is like the dialogues of Plato, the conversation Socrates had with his disciples. It is worthy to study the Republic of Plato to understand clearly the difference between genuine talk and the chatter of the loquacious. True talk comes from reflection. The speaker selects appropriate words for each idea, expresses thoughts precisely, as a result of self-reflection of the being. The one who gives Gnostic teaching cannot speak mechanically. Observe reflective men when they speak. They are evidently concentrated, choosing their words to convey the transcendental ideas of the being. We must become conscious of our words, our feelings, and our thoughts. There is no doubt that there are 5 principal centers in the organic machine: intellectual, emotional, motor, instinctive, and sexual. The intellectual center is located in the brain, the motor center in the upper part of the spinal column, the emotional center in the heart, solar plexus, and sympathetic systems, the instinctive center in the lower part of the spinal column, and the sexual center, obviously, in the sexual glands. We must learn to control these centers if we wish to live consciously. A wise man once said that we should only use the inferior parts of the 5 centers of the being. To many this may sound strange, as Peter Ouspensky advised using only the inferior parts of the different centers of the organic machine, but it is correct. These centers connect us with practical life, with the concrete factors of existence. Knowing how to use them prevents unnecessary waste of energy. It would be absurd to use the superior parts of the centers for trivial tasks when inferior parts suffice, or vice versa. For example, let us suppose someone is busy with trivial work. Suppose this person is fully concentrated, applying their best mind and will to something meaningless. This is an unnecessary waste of energy. To accomplish a trivial task, only the inferior parts of the organic centers are needed. In this way, energy is preserved. Those who wish to eliminate the harmful factors of the false personality must learn to use the 5 organic centers efficiently. It is also necessary to learn to use the energies flowing within the human organism. A common example of misuse of energy is an excited mind. An agitated mind functions incorrectly. If you want, I can continue and edit the next sections in the same style so the entire text reads seamlessly and clearly. Do you want me to do that? Obviously, when the intellectual and emotional centers work in coordinated and harmonious form, they become productive and accomplish splendid, marvelous actions. But what happens when the mind is excited, for example, by sexual energy or by the energy of the instinctive or motor centers? In this case, the mind is agitated and functioning incorrectly. What must we do? We must submerge ourselves into the mental center, go deep within it, and restore order in mind to take it out of that state of excitation and think with complete serenity and logic. I am not speaking of formal logic, but of the tertium organum, the superior logic. A mind that is excited is a mind functioning incorrectly. We must learn to use the centers of the machine correctly if we truly want to eliminate the undesirable elements of the false personality. There are many mechanical and useless I's in the 5 centers, I's of countless trivialities, that must be eliminated. The presumption and vanity which belong to the false personality generate from their depths certain reactions that are absolutely mistaken and harmful. Observe how necessary self-exploration is. Through the process of disintegration of what must be disintegrated, the elements of the false personality, a didactic and dialectic transformation occurs, and the ultimate result of that transformation is the lucid, awakened consciousness. When one truly establishes this teaching in the mind and heart, one understands the necessity of sacrifice, of fighting for many causes. It is necessary to sacrifice much in order to transform our forces, to sacrifice the most pleasant things in human life. This is indispensable for true transformation. What do we mean by transformation? It is to become a different being, a being aligned with the solar period. But we cannot achieve transformation without patience. I repeat what I said at the beginning. In your patience, possess ye your souls. Impatience stagnates and fails forever. I do not say that you will not encounter periods of stagnation. Obviously, these processes exist, but with patience, one emerges from them. We must cultivate profound thought. What do superficial people resemble? They are like the shallow ponds formed on roads. In these ponds, the water stagnates and only mud remains. And what do profound people resemble? They are like deep lakes where life flourishes and fish swim. We must cultivate depth to discover the many hidden facets of the false personality. The gravest danger is that if one identifies with the false personality, if one lives within it, one fails, and in the long run must descend into the infernal worlds. If we reflect profoundly, we discover within ourselves errors that form a foundation for psychic aggregates, which are extremely difficult to disintegrate. Understanding this is vital. But how can we break the mistaken causes, the causes that keep us stagnant at a point we cannot escape even if we desire to? It is necessary, indeed it is an obligation, to perform an analytical dissection of the errors that cause stagnation. This requires profound study of the related psychic aggregate, supreme repentance, and the highest degree of inner pain. I have always emphasized this. The disintegration of any error is not merely an intellectual process. It requires passing through great emotional crises and even reaching the point of crying tears of blood when transformation is truly desired. Only then is it possible to disintegrate the error or difficult aggregate. Commonly, these difficult aggregates are rooted in serious causes. These causes or I-causes are directly related to the law, to karma. Forgiveness of certain debts is possible when repentance is sincere. On one occasion, I spoke with my divine mother Kundalini, the sacred serpent of the great mysteries, coiled around a column with a human face. I implored her forgiveness, for I was striving to restore certain ethical principles within myself, to revalue mystical values, and to regenerate the spiritual gold. Her response was definitive. You are forgiven, my son. I forgive you. 3 times I have forgiven you. Indeed, during the ancient Earth-Moon cycles, in the Manvantara of Padma or the Golden Lotus, I had been forgiven. In the Mu continent, amidst the furious waves of the Pacific, I had been forgiven. And now, for the 3rd time, I needed forgiveness. The sacred serpent also said, on one occasion, the 2nd time I forgave you, pointing to the Mu continent, your karma was so grave that even after forgiving you, I did not dare enter the palace of the lords of karma, for the lords of the law would have trampled me. Nevertheless, I forgive you. I responded, thank you, my mother. In this way, the sacred serpent of the ancient mysteries, the divine Kundalini, grants forgiveness when one is at the maximum state of stagnation, when one moves neither forward nor backward. When one cannot advance in any way, there is no other recourse but to implore the forgiveness of Devi Kundalini Shakti, so she may disintegrate the determined mistaken causes or I causes. By annihilating these causes, the resulting effects are nullified. So, it is necessary to have patience in the realization of the work. What is important is to truly achieve transformation, and this is possible when one genuinely has patience. Impatience does not advance even an inch in these studies. Through Buddhist annihilation, through the disintegration of all classes of inhuman or subhuman elements, one reaches the point where the essence or consciousness becomes fully liberated and awakened, free from the false personality. This brings to us what is called blessedness. Blessedness must be reached here and now, through radical transformation. Through this process, many brothers and sisters comprehend and feel the necessity to change. Unfortunately, many lack continuity of purpose. Some persevere for a time, but then tire, abandon the work on themselves, and in that way achieve no transformation. To achieve transformation, continuity of purpose is essential. We need to live in a state of continuous self-observation. Through self-observation, we discover all the processes of vanity and presumption. Once we have this knowledge, we can reduce that vanity and presumption to dust. It is rare for someone to maintain constant self-observation day and night. But when one perseveres, breaks the eyes, and liberates the consciousness, one makes it refulgent and awakened. Change is necessary, my dear brothers and sisters. This change is urgent and is impossible if the false personality continues to exist within us. I want, with this talk, to make you reflect. In your patience possess ye your souls. With patience, you will achieve awakening. We need to become conscious of our thoughts, conscious of our feelings, and truly conscious of the effects that other people have on us. We need to become aware of the environment in which we live and the relationships we have with it. We need to understand our relationship with ourselves because as long as we exist as unconscious machines, we are doing nothing. We must stop being machines. So, my dear brothers, this concludes tonight's talk. I am now prepared to answer questions related to this theme. Venerable Master, what is the reason for the discontinuity of purpose? When there is no permanent center of consciousness, there is no continuity of purpose. But when a magnetic center is firmly established in the essence, continuity of purpose arises. Normally, the magnetic center of our existence is located in the false personality. Venerable Master, what is the authentic personality made of? Certainly, personality is pure energy. Nobody is born with a personality. It is the daughter of its time, born and dying within its time. There is no tomorrow for the personality of deceased people. When we return, when we receive a new physical body, we must create a new personality. Personality, in itself, is energy, but it becomes false when certain eyes penetrate and unfold within it. For example, the eye of vanity, the eye of jealousy, the eyes of preoccupations, the eyes of intellectualism, and in general, the mechanical eyes that occupy and take possession of the personality, making it false. But if we disintegrate these eyes, the personality becomes pure. Without these eyes, is no longer false. It becomes an instrument to work with, but it is not a false personality. Venerable Master, how can we establish a strong personality in ourselves? The personality must be balanced with the essence. When a personality is stronger than the essence, imbalance occurs. We need perfect equilibrium between personality and essence. Venerable Master, when someone achieves self-realization, does he confer eternal character to a specific personality? We could say yes. For example, a resurrected master who can preserve the physical body will have an eternal personality in the physical world. He will have another eternal astral personality associated with the astral body, another eternal mental personality associated with the mental body, and a causal personality associated with the causal body. Thus, there are 4 fundamental personalities: physical, astral, mental, and causal. The physical is governed by 48 laws, the astral by 24 laws, the mental by 12 laws, and the causal by 6 laws. Venerable Master, being the personality a product of time, could it be considered an aggregate? No, because it differs from psychic aggregates in that it lasts the life of the physical body. The personality is a receptive instrument, a vehicle of action when it is not false, when it flows in its original, pure, and pristine form. Venerable Master, are the astral and mental personalities of a master different? Of course, the manifestation in the physical world, through the physical personality, is different from a manifestation in the astral with the astral personality. One is the mental manifestation, and another is the causal. The real man is the causal man. But let us consider what personality really is. If we achieve liberation from a false personality, we will establish ourselves in the third state of consciousness. Observe newborn children. They live in the third state of consciousness, which is self-remembering, the remembering of the own being. Unfortunately, because of false education and the bad examples of our relatives, all of us have fallen from the third state to the second state of consciousness, the incorrectly called walking state. This fall is equivalent, I would say, to falling from heaven to hell, in the hell of the second state of consciousness, where the eyes are born, where psychic aggregates express themselves, and where all the inhuman and perverse elements within us become stronger. The second state of consciousness is certainly an authentic hell. Some authors speak of sacrificing the suffering. Does suffering have any relation to the false personality? People are willing to sacrifice everything except their suffering. They are capable of sacrificing their vices, passions, even their lives, but not their pain. They love their suffering and will not sacrifice it for anything. Yet it is necessary to sacrifice suffering as well. We must learn from it and make good use of adversities because adversities always bring the best opportunities for self-realization. In this way, we understand what it means to sacrifice suffering. There are profound and terrible pains that penetrate the consciousness. If we know how to take advantage of them, if we learn the lesson they offer, we then truly sacrifice the suffering. The truths we speak here are profound and even terrible. But, I repeat, it is necessary to pass through the annihilation of the mind, the feelings, the personality, the I. As a result of so many transmutations and so much work, a different, divinely transformed creature emerges within each of us. It has been said that through death begins the transformation, and it is through transformation that we achieve the second birth to become divinely transcendent beings beyond good and evil. Master, how can we develop comprehension? Creative comprehension is developed through discernment. Comprehension cannot exist unless a perfect equilibrium is established between the being and knowledge. When the being exceeds knowledge, as Gurdjieff said, a stupid saint appears. When knowledge exceeds the being, an intellectual knave appears. Currently, the world is governed by intellectual knaves, which explains the chaotic state of humanity. Establishing equilibrium between the being and knowledge is indispensable, and this equilibrium is achieved through meditation. For example, if we study a biblical verse using only the formative center, the intellect, we are going wrong. We destroy that center instead of developing it. But if we study the verse and immerse ourselves in profound meditation with the intention of conscious illumination, an interchange occurs between being and knowledge. Knowledge fuses into being, and being fuses into knowledge, and from this fusion emerges the living flame of comprehension. Venerable Master, could subjective repentance exist? Yes. There are subjective and objective repentances. Subjective repentance is mechanical, often arising from compulsion. Someone makes us aware of a mistake, and we regret. This is mechanical repentance. We do not need mechanical repentance. We need conscious and objective repentance, achieved only through the dialectic of consciousness, the intimate dialectic of the being. Only through this process can authentic repentance occur, leading to profound inner transformation. My dear brothers and sisters, I am showing the path of transformation. This path allows us to achieve self-awakening, the real objectivity of consciousness, and that is what truly matters, the transcendental. Could mechanical repentance be that of mystical people moved by emotional impulses? Not necessarily. We do not speak against mystical people. Often, a humble woman lighting a candle before a saint can perform prodigies that a professor of atomic physics could never accomplish. We must be careful with our words. I am precise in investigation and demanding in expression. Therefore, I demand exactness in your words. Inferential peace. Samael Aun Weor.